Here we are. Today we are taking a look at the 28-400 massive all-purpose zoom. We're putting it on our ZFs. We're going to see how it performs.
So it goes from 28 to 400.
All the way from 28 to 400.
The only one lens in the world that does it in such a small package.
That's right. Sell all your lenses. This is, I'm just kidding.
The ultimate lazy lens, as I call it.
Yeah, let's see how this lazy lens performs.
Yeah.
Look at these little cuties. I know it's not a macro lens, but I'm going to try it anyway.
Of course you will.
Of course, because that's just how I roll.
They're so tiny that I can't even see them on this little LCD screen of Nikon ZF.
Yeah, I'm going to just give you a little... What I'm going to do is take this picture here. Thanks, Tilly. And then I'm going to zoom right into 400 so that you can see... There we go.
Good girl. Good girl.
I'm actually quite... Once you stick it up at 1,000 to handle fast-moving Tillies, it keeps up just fine. It's not front heavy, so the lens only weighs about, 70 grams more than the camera? So it's pretty well balanced. When I was shooting Tilly coming towards me, okay, I was stuck at 400. I wasn't going to zoom out while I was also shooting, but it picked up her face probably about, I want to say 6 meters away, and then it held it right until she came out of range. So in terms of focusing speed, I was pretty impressed with that. And there were some fun shots to share as well. Very flattering.
That's right. She was running towards you, so the focusing distance was changing quite dramatically. It's not exactly left to right type of move.
No.
So do you think for people who have dogs like Tilly, very active dogs, is that the lens?
High energy, yeah. If you want to take pictures of a high energy dog moving fast, then I think that you can get away with this one.
Awesome.
I'm just testing my close focus.
Yeah, what about it? So how close can it get?
Well, at the 28mm end, it gets as close as 20 centimeters. That does mean because the hood is so shallow, you have to be a little bit careful that you don't bang into the front of the lens. And then at the 400 end, it focuses at 1.2 meters, which is actually really close for a 400mm. So although it's f8 at the 400 end, which is not really what you want to shoot at if you are shooting macro, f8 actually makes a lot of sense because at 400, the depth of field is going to be so shallow that you kind of need that f-stop anyway. And the pictures look pretty pleasing. It's not any kind of like one-to-one reproduction or anything like that, but it is a what they call 0.35 times magnification, which means that for general purpose detail and capturing flowers and plant life when you're going on a walk or whatever, it's perfect for that sort of thing. So what do you think? You've had it for a little longer than I have, last couple of days, and you've managed to play with it and shoot with it. What do you think of the handling?
I think the handling is good. It's 725 grams, which is reasonable. It's a not very long lens. Of course, it extends quite a bit, but it's not too long compared even to 24 to 200. So I think for a lot of people, it makes sense to get extra 200mm focal distance, so you go from 200 to 400. Now, in terms of use case, I think it's a perfect lazy lens. As long as you don't mind the weight, you just take one lens. I shoot primes normally, and generally I will take prime lens on my walk with Tilly, but this lens is perfect for this because she tends to run away quite fast. She's a hunting dog, so I can always take a shot of her real quick. So I can see that some people may use it for hiking. I spoke to a person who kind of said that it may be a little bit too heavy for this, and they had 18-140 to have a more portable DX setup. But I guess if some of you who don't mind to carry a little bit extra weight, then this would be a perfect lens for hiking, because again, you take one lens with you and you just leave it on all the time. So Overall, I think it's a perfect travel lazy lens where you don't want to be too much thinking about changing the lens and things like this, because yeah, it gets you a wide shot, a landscape, etc., and then I can always photograph a bird in that tree over there and fill in the frame with it. All right, so let's talk about all the technical stuff. The sharpness. What are your thoughts?
It is very passably sharp. I know that doesn't sound like a very overwhelming statement, but we weren't expecting fireworks from this lens. We weren't expecting it to be the equivalent of a prime, and it does a really good job, particularly if you're shooting at the extremes, which is unusual. If you're at your closest focusing distance at any of the extremes, it does a really, really nice job.
What about vignetting, Becky?
It's a little bit of vignetting at f4, mostly at the 28 end. The conclusion really is that this lens is good enough for most types of photography. It is the kind of lens that if you are someone who doesn't want to carry multiple lenses around, if you don't really know what you're going to go and shoot, if you're off for a day trip to a town or to the coast or anything like that, it will do pretty much everything that you ask of it without being particularly spectacular in one particular genre.
It would be too easy for Nikon just to release a 28-400 lens and it would be soft, you know. But what they've done is actually they've combined the expertise in glass and made the lens that is not only fairly compact for this focal distance range, but also fairly sharp. And in terms of this, I would say it's as good as 24-70 f4, but much longer.
This lens is f4 to f8, which means that we're not really pushing it. We're not trying to make it a wide aperture lens that's super crisp with magical bokeh. It just does a really nice job at all the ranges.
Yeah, but the good news is at f8, at 400mm, your background is so compressed that you do get the blurry background. So it's f4 to f8, maybe not the best lens for low light, but if you have more or less the latest and greatest Nikon camera, your ISO performance at 3200 is going to be very, very passable. So overall, I'd say travel lens, as long as you can carry this bulk, you know, not for everyone, let's be honest, but I personally thought when it first came out, it was going to be about that big, you know, and actually in real life it's much smaller. I really like this hood, by the way, because it's small. Normally on lenses of that focal distance, the longer range, they tend to kind of extend quite a bit. Just look at 100-400 lens, you know, so this is actually fairly compact, comes off quite easily. It doesn't take too much space. It's about an inch in length, you know, in your backpack, and of course you can always reverse it.
Exactly.
Since I'm an old person, I'm going to sit down and share my thoughts about this lens with you. Let's talk about zoom throw. It's about half turn. It's pretty good. It allows you to zoom in really, really quickly to your subject. Sometimes I do find I use hand like this, which is weird. This is the way to use it. But one thing is the weather sealing. When it rains, you get all this water comes into those lens barrels. And while the lens is weather sealed, my concern is that once you zoom it back in, the water may go inside. This is just my worry. I don't think it will happen, but what I did is I just wiped it several times before closing it down. But as you can see, it extends quite a bit. So it's not an internal zoom, it's external one. So just being paranoid really more than anything else, I would worry that the water may come inside the lens.
Thank you very much for watching. Please give us a like and a subscribe if you can. We would hugely appreciate it.
And if you found this video super useful, there's super thanks button as well. Hit it if you can.
Tell us what you think about this lens in the comments below.
Yay! La patita!
Did you call her a potato?